Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Super Series Tuesday. We are into our fourth episode of our series that's talking about investing. So this is Investing 101, guys. So we are here with you guys today, and we're in episode 4, and we have a very special guest with us. My name is Stephanie Milburn. I am your chair of House in the Car, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, Miss Erica Rawls. Hey,
Hello.
Erica.
Hey, Stephanie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Excited to get started. This one's going to be a good one. I can feel it.
Yes, it's going to be a great one. And so this series alone has been really, really great. It's been really informative, and we've had some really dynamic speakers on. So last week, we had a really awesome show, lots of engagement, and those ladies really blew us away. So today we have another special guest. And for those of you who are just tuning in, of course, I am from Houston, Texas. And Erica, where are you from? Let everybody know because, not everybody knows about this Harrisburg.
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Every week, though, Stephanie, I want to get it. Yes, the 717. Do y'all go by area codes too? Because we do. 717 is in the building.
Yes, of course. And
Yes.
so our main area code for years was 713. So, of course, if you hear the 713, then you know you are from Houston. But now we have like a bunch of different area codes now, like 832, 346. But that's not, we don't identify with that. If it's 713, then we know you from H Town. So, and our special guest is also here from H Town. Well, and I say he's from H Town, but I don't know exactly where he's from. But I know that is where I've met him. Seen him in H Town. He's doing big things in H Town. So,
Yeah, he
Chris,
is.
thank you and welcome to our Super Series Tuesday for House Then the Car. So, can you tell our audience who you are and where you're from?
Oh, you sound. I don't think we can hear you.
He's
If I
trying to
hear
keep it
me,
a
of course,
secret.
There you
of
go.
course, yeah. Okay, yeah. So I'm Christopher Senegal, real estate investor, developer based in Houston, Texas. Grew up in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and Port Arthur, Texas, half and half. But I've been in
Okay.
Houston since 2008, so this Houston is home.
Houston is home. So, guys, y'all heard it. He's a Houstonian now, okay? And we always make Erica an honorary Texan because we
Yes.
always have a lot of guests and hosts that are from Texas, and she feels left out. So, Erica, hey, once again, you are an honorary Texan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Y'all do it big in Texas, so I enjoy the company.
We do. Everything's bigger in Texas. So if you want to do something big, hey, join us in Texas. And today we will be doing some big things and talking about buying the block versus gentrification. Of course, when we hear the word gentrification, it has a negative connotation, but I like the concept, and I've been, kind of reading some things. And Chris, what you're doing is you're doing a type of gentrification, but keeping, the culture of the community and not trying to push out, the culture or the history of this particular community. So that's the difference between gentrification and I'm just going to let people know, like, by definition, because somebody that's listening may
Yes,
not
please.
exactly know what the word gentrification means. So by definition, it is the process whereby the character of a poor urban area is changed by wealthier people moving in, improving housing, and attracting new businesses, typically displacing current inhabitants in the process. And that is the biggest issue, is displacement. So we want to ensure that when someone comes into a neighborhood, that is considered a poor neighborhood, that the residents are not being displaced. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about how you got into the development and buying the block process.
Yeah, so I started off went to school for civil engineer, had the corporate job, got in the corporate world, realized I was sold the dream. So I got into real estate and I started flipping houses and having rental properties. Then I kind of realized the people that taught me how to do the business weren't from the neighborhoods I was from. And the approach they taught me to use actually was accelerating gentrification. So about 2013, so this is starting 2008, but 2013, I kind of just hit reset, and I was trying to figure out, how can I do what I'm doing and have a positive impact, especially on our neighborhoods, because a lot of the good opportunities are in our neighborhoods. Um, Yeah, and so I hit reset and I just started looking at the bigger picture and understanding that there's got to be a way to revitalize these communities, and we shouldn't be ashamed for revitalizing the communities because everything has a life cycle, just like a neighborhood has a life cycle. And if you look at these neighborhoods before desegregation, all the well-to-do black people lived here: the professors, the entrepreneurs, the business owners, the doctors, the lawyers, everybody lived here. So we shouldn't be ashamed for one that neighborhood to have that type of resilience again, as long as we're not displacing existing residents. And so that's been my focus. And I've just figured we'll talk about a few of the different case studies and models that I've been able to dispel myths about, how it's impossible to do without impacting the existing community negatively.
Yeah. And I mean, I love that because you do see it across the United States where the cities, the inner cities seem to be the ones that need the help as far as revitalizing and making it like beautification is a big thing. Like we want to live somewhere where we're proud of. And you look at the bigger cities or just cities in general where you see all the vacant houses, barely standing up. And it only takes like a big developer that normally doesn't look like us that comes in and they'll just change the whole landscape. And then just like the definition says, displacing, the minority or people that are underserved. So to hear someone like yourself come in with a program like you have developed in Houston, it intrigued me. So I'm interested to know what were some of like the challenges that you had, and how did you get the buy-in from the community as well?
Everything was a challenge. So the 2013, when I said I want to revamp my model, I decided to go after bigger, contiguous parcels of land, which now was the phrase "by the block." I didn't realize that back then, but I was like trying to find creative ways to go into our neighborhood, specifically Fifth Ward, and buy large amounts of property at once. And so what I realized was there's landlords that or heirs of landlords that own a lot of property, and they're just not maintaining it well. So the first block I bought was a grocery store, and it had like some raggedy houses on it. And my goal was buy the block. Um, I tried to go to a bank. A bank wouldn't let me finance it, so I went to the seller and said, "Look, I'll give you what you're asking for, which is really above market value, but you have to be the bank for me. I'll give you a down payment, and I'll make payments for you over time." So it's called seller financing.
Right.
So he agreed to it. And the first thing I tried to do was bring the grocery store back. That's what we all talk about, right? Bring more grocery stores back to the neighborhood. Well, I went to every grocery store chain, every small, from Aldi to HEB to Kroger. Nobody would do it. And what they kept explaining to me was the disposable income in the community does not support them setting up and investing millions of dollars to bring a grocery store in.
Oh wow.
We
Yeah.
think that grocery stores make a lot of money off of the stuff on the shelves. They don't. All their profit is in the fresh meat and the produce. And so if you don't have a demographic of people that can support that business, grocery store chain only has a 3% profit margin. So you have to figure out a different way. So then that focus became, okay, so how do I bring higher incomes back to the neighborhood that look like the neighborhood, so it's not really gentrification in a negative sense? So that's what my first project was building new construction townhomes on that property and just targeting young black working professionals to move back to the community. And that project was successful. It took me 23 banks telling me no for the financing. Then for me to realize I had to be creative with that financing too, going to people that look like us that understand what I was trying to do, that had money sitting in old 401k accounts, had them converted over to self-directed IRAs. They become my investors. And that's how I was able to get the first phase of the project done. Once you have the first phase done and you have 3 solid new construction sales, now you have comparables. So I'm in a
Mm.
market where there was no new construction, but now I've created my own, what they call create your own comps.
Right.
Now the bank will finance projects going forward. And once again, I've done this in a neighborhood where, it was very low income. The, when I bought the property, neighbors across the street didn't even want their kids coming outside at night because of the drug activity in the abandoned grocery store. Now they have representation in the neighborhood of young black people driving luxury cars that are not selling drugs,
Right.
and it's in a neighborhood where redevelopment is already happening, so it's going to be gentrified. We just have to make sure that we're in a position to start controlling more of it and not just complaining about it. So, that's all the fuel of the conversations that we always have about what we can and cannot do in our neighborhoods.
Well, one thing you mentioned was the funding piece. And so
Mhm.
A lot of people are concerned with, where to start. Like if someone like Erica Rawls, she wants to get into a development in her city and state. So she is concerned with where to start with the funding. And like you went to someone and they did a seller financing. But aside from that, what other type of funding do you have for your projects?
Um, so I do seller financing. I do private investor funding for the most part. Uh, and those are really my main two approaches. I mean, crowdfunding is a form of group investment, which is just having a bunch of people pool money together to fund your projects, and that's really the only way you're going to get these projects done.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're buying a block in a neighborhood that has not already had a significant level of revitalization.
Right.
The way that institutional banks and lenders underwrite things, they don't see enough evidence that the project is going to be successful. So
Mm-hmm.
you're really just spinning your wheels trying to get them to commit to it. So you have to find like-minded people that believe in what you're trying to do. And I mean, everybody knows about our spending power. How much we spend, how much we
Yeah.
waste. And so if we take just a 10% of that and redirect it towards investments in our own neighborhoods, it becomes a win-win for everybody. And then once you do that, then the banks are more comfortable, going forward, putting money into your next, your third, your fourth project because they've seen you create a track record of creating new markets.
So you're creating that market, and
Mm-hmm.
there's huge risk in that.
Mm-hmm.
How successful have you? I mean, I know how successful overall you've been, but
Mm-hmm.
your initial investment, that's a huge risk. So you're saying, hey, seller, I want you to finance this, and I know
Mm-hmm.
it's huge. However, I'm going to get it done. So of course you're going to have passion and commitment and the drive to do it, and then you also had the down payment. Like, what were some of the things you had to overcome just to make sure that it was a profitable, or was it profitable? Was your first investment, was it profitable? Did you see a profit in your first investment
Yes.
with that seller? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So here's how you de-risk it.
Yeah.
You you don't go into a neighborhood where there's no sign of redevelopment, where there's no indication that there's a catalyst for some type of value appreciation. You want to go somewhere where, let's say, like when they announce a new stadium's being built,
Mm-hmm.
or new schools being built, or new shopping centers being built. Or let's say you can go to the city's plans. You can literally go to planning and urban development and look at the 5, 10, 15-year plan of what they have for the city.
Right.
After you look at that, as soon as you see the first sign, the first announcement in the newspaper of a developer buying something, anything like that, those are the indications that we always miss. So because once that comes, usually it goes from that point to us still calling it the hood, to somebody else walking their dog, to we can't afford it.
Right. Right.
And we see it over and over, and we
Yeah.
complain about it over and over. So it's not really that risky because we know the indications, we know the process, we just don't act on it. So my whole goal was let's act on it. So that's exactly what happened in Fifth Ward. I looked at the redevelopment plans, I watched the redevelopment course of the city, and I knew this neighborhood was coming. I just took a calculated risk and said, I will invest here. And I want to point out something else you said. With seller financing, the guy wanted $500,000 for the property. At that time, it may have been worth maybe 375. But when you seller finance something, you're actually taking on a partner, and they don't realize it because I gave him 10% down, so he won $500,000. I gave him $50,000, but it's for 20 years. So 20 years from now, I know it's going to be worth way more than $500,000. So
Mm-hmm.
it's okay. Number two, I didn't bring my own $50,000 to the table. I have other seasoned real estate investors that, some were black, some were Mexican, some were white, but they understand because they've done this in other markets. So when I say, hey, it's only $50,000 down, they're ready to put the money in there. Okay, here's a small portion of my money that I wasn't really going to use. I'll put it in there and wait 4 or 5 years to get a return. I know I'll double it or whatever. So then you don't have to come to the table with anything, right? So there's a success form that I use for everything. I call this the success triangle. You need the knowledge and experience, you need the opportunity, and you need the money.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us think you have to come to the table with all three. All you do is figure out a way to come to the table with one. So in this particular case, I came to the table with the opportunity, and then I built the team around me that had the knowledge and experience in new construction and development. And then once I have those people, I can go have a conversation with somebody that has the money, and it makes it a lot easier to get a deal put together.
Right.
One thing that you mentioned, one word that you said, you said the hood. Of
Mhm.
course, if you guys are watching and people that are from Houston, you know that the area of Fifth Ward is considered the hood. So when you're talking about redevelopment and things of that nature in the hood, like how easy or difficult is it to get someone's buy-in in those particular areas, especially those that I mean, like if I tell somebody, like, I mean, I grew up in Fifth Ward. When I say, hey, I'm from Fifth Ward, they're like, oh, you from the nickel, the bloody nickel? So, of course, that neighborhood already just has a negative stereotype. But I mean, me as a child, I never even saw that side of Fifth Ward that people, talk. So I don't even understand that connotation. But how is it, how easy or difficult was it for you to get the buy-in from the investors?
Hold on, before you answer that, okay, so we have, oh, we just lost Stephanie. We actually
Uh,
have a great person here that's actually giving us some knowledge. So, for the people that are actually watching, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to sprinkle this on your timeline because it's not often that we get someone that has the level of knowledge that he actually possesses. So, let's take advantage of it, especially if you know someone that has an interest in actually becoming or doing the same thing that he has done. Don't take it for granted. This is the time to ask the question. So, again, sprinkle it on your timelines, y'all, and share the knowledge, share the wealth, okay? Share this information because, again, he's here to help us. So, thank you. All right, Chris, you got the
okay.
floor.
Number one, I spent a lot of time when I was in my transition having those conversations with those people that say it's the hood, that say it's too much of a challenge, that say it's too risky. But then those same people couldn't explain why they couldn't afford to invest in certain markets or why they couldn't afford to buy a home in certain markets. So I realized I couldn't listen to them.
Mm,
And unfortunately, it's the hood only because of if you study what happened with desegregation, we all left our communities and went other places to
right,
prove the right that we had earned to have acceptance in other neighborhoods. But before that, every city had a Black Wall Street. We had to have our own business districts.
right,
Unemployment rate was zero. We owned the businesses we hired ourselves. So when I think about all that, it's like, well, there's really no excuse. And the people that don't get it, that's okay. They don't have to get it. For me, it was like I'm just gonna talk to enough people and find a few people that have buy-in, that understand and want to get in, versus me trying to waste my time trying to convince people because I had to spend a long time down that route. It just doesn't work. And now, 98% of the people that told me I couldn't do it are now asking me how can they invest, how can they be a part. You know,
yes,
so.
yeah. You only need that one person, Chris. Only need that one
Mm-hmm.
person that's gonna ride along. That's awesome.
Well, and I think that's a good segue. I mean, how can someone be a part of what you're doing? How can they invest?
So every now and then I'll have an opportunity that opens up, and it's different levels to it. So with that first townhouse project, I just took on a few investors that partnered with me, and we were able to get that project done. Then my second project was another part of gentrification where I talk about, which is how do you protect existing residents? Well, the easiest residents to protect that are there are the long-term renters. We can try to have the city go through rent control measures or have get the mayor to implement something. We can protest it, but really the only way to protect the residents and control their rents is to own the rental properties. So just buy the rental properties up early in stages like this in this neighborhood where a lot of gentrification is coming. And so my second project was buying a portfolio of rentals. It was 18 houses and two vacant commercial buildings with the specific intent of being able to buy it without raising their rents because I knew there was going to be so much redevelopment in the area that the land value was going to go up enough to give us a great return on the money we put into it. So we could take these long-term residents that are paying $500-$700 a month and walk into $11,000-$12,000 a month in revenue and know that the value is going to go up, and then take the vacant commercial buildings and do something with them and create more revenue too. So I was able to do that and double the revenue. But the way I financed this one was number one, seller financing again, and then number two, instead of going to one or two investors, I did a crowd fund. So I let any and everybody, some people from the neighborhood, some people that said they never thought they would say they have ownership in real estate, invest as little as $250,
That's
and we raised
awesome.
$1.1 million in 7 months. So the property purchase was 1.2 million. They wanted 50% down, so I was able to take 600,000, put it down, take some of the rest of the money, do some deferred maintenance, clean the property up, do some landscaping, and then take the two commercial buildings, renovate them, and turn them into short-term event spaces, or like meeting spaces. And that property, I bought it for 1.2 million. Now it's worth 1.8 million, and that was in less than a year. And I've paid out distributions to my shareholders twice for the investment. So that's a different type of model. And then my third project I'm working on now, uh, I bought a 5.3 acre site, which is like the landmark church in Houston at the busiest intersection, two busiest freeways. Bought it for 6.7 million, and we're going to do a 294 unit apartment complex on it.
Oh wow.
In addition to the apartment complex, I'm bringing the top performing black charter school in the country in as a commercial tenant. So this will be the first time the Fifth Ward has a black-owned charter school network who has 12 campuses in DC, 5 campuses in Arkansas. All the campuses are low-income neighborhoods. All the campuses are top performing, top 10% in both jurisdictions. So those types of opportunities are available. In that instance, I took on about 10 investors that were looked like us, black and brown, doctors, lawyers, pharmaceutical sales reps, and one real estate investor, and was able to raise $1.2 million from them, put a little bit of my own money in, and I got a bank to finance about $4 million of that acquisition. But just because of all the redevelopment going on in the neighborhood, the property value went up from 6.7 to 8.6 in 9 months. So
Wow.
it's gonna continue to go up. It's gonna continue to go up because of where it is. And so these type of opportunities that, you know, we talk about what do we do with all our black churches that have low membership, that they own prime real estate in all of our neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So I want you to think about all the things I'm talking about that we usually complain about in
Yeah.
the community.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people say the black church takes a lot of money out of the community, and doesn't put it back in. Okay, well, now it's an opportunity to reverse that trend. Let's take this high value land that you have. Let's figure out a way to do something positive for the community. And what I like about the apartment complex model is my original challenge I had with the grocery stores was that there's not enough high incomes in the community. So when we stop focusing specifically on low income housing in those neighborhoods, and we start focusing on how do we bring higher income people that look like us back to the neighborhood, the demographic mix looks better. So then when you go to a business like a grocery store and say, hey, look at these young professionals that work downtown that live in this apartment complex that are earning $70,000 $100,000 a year,
Right.
plus the people in the community, then it's a lot easier to convince a grocery store to come back. And you're not displacing anybody, because I took a 5 acre church site. The church, they're downsizing, they're taking the cash from the sale, they're going to buy a smaller campus, pay cash for it. So it's a win-win for everybody. And so, like I said, as I find more projects like that, I open up the opportunity to invest depending on the risk tolerance of the deal, depending on the time it's going to take for people to start getting a return. I try to choose a good way to allow people to invest with me on those projects.
Now, Chris, why apartments and not like condos, owner occupants, housing?
Well, because as a real estate investor myself, I always advocate, uh, if you're not really serious about real estate investing,
Mm-hmm.
I don't suggest you buy your primary residence. I know that's what's taught, but in reality,
Are you going to get some pushback from us because we're real estate agents? We
no,
always
wait, hold on,
I'll let her finish.
Let
Okay.
me
Yeah, because
explain.
I was clutching
Let me
my pearls
explain.
with my necklace
Yeah,
today, but yeah.
no, wait. Let me explain
Okay,
why.
please do, sir.
I'm gonna show you how to get more business from the same clients you're talking to.
Okay.
Okay, if your client has $5,000 a month in income, right, and then they buy their primary residence, and then with between lawn maintenance, between repairs, between taxes, between insurance, let's say let's say their mortgage payment is 1,500 a month. Then you add all that other stuff in there, they're at 2,000 a month. Okay, that leaves them $3,000 a month to live off of. Now they're going to get some write-offs, they're going to get some value appreciation, right? But every time there's a repair, it comes out of their pocket. Now, however, if you take those same people and they work with y'all and they go buy 2 investment properties
I hear you.
instead,
I hear
they
you.
get all those same benefits and they're actually buying free cash flow every month. So if that same 1,500, if there's a repair, but their rent on the house is 1,800 or 1,900, it's not coming out their pocket. They're still going to get that same value appreciation that they would get off not one but two houses, and they may have extra $500 in income on top of their salary that makes it even more attractive for them to then go and buy their personal residence after that. So
Okay.
I like the rental model on the front end until they're actually really ready to buy. Because you know what happens in the reverse. If you have your personal mortgage and then you have your work and you only have $3,000 left of disposable income, when you go to the bank to try to get finance for an investment property, they're going to say you don't have enough spread there,
Right.
right? So that's really my focus, and it's like even in a neighborhood like Fifth Ward, let's say somebody understands what's coming there, but maybe the crime rate's still a little bit too high for them. So okay, go rent an apartment in a safe building, and then still go buy a house in the neighborhood because that house value is going to appreciate tremendously, right? So you still have ownership, you still have that control, and now that you own that house over there, you may help somebody that looks like you that may not have qualified for a home on their own. Since you're the landlord, you're making the decision. You may give them an opportunity to move into the neighborhood. So I mean, yeah. So I know it always sounds rough at first when I say it, but when I start explaining it, it
Yeah.
kind of makes sense. Now
Yeah.
that's
I
not for
started
everybody.
sweating. I started
Some
sweating,
people
Chris.
should buy a home if you want to buy a home
Right.
if that's your preference. Yeah,
Yeah.
but for the renters, and plus with condos also, there's HOA fees. So
Right.
there's a whole lot of money that's just kind of flushed down the toilet instead of that money being used to produce
Hmm.
additional income for you.
In the apartment complex that you're building, you're going to have affordable housing and market rate, or is it just going to be market
Yes.
rate? Okay, it's going to be both.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's gonna be. So I'm not going deep in affordability. I'm going
Right.
like 80% of market. So
Right.
I want to attract teachers, entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
graduate students, and then
Raise the income.
my main focus really is the entrepreneur, the one that may show they make $40,000, $50,000 on paper, but they're trying to grow a business, right? And usually they get shunned or get turned away. So they technically fall into the low income category. And those are the types of groups that we forget about that we really need in our communities because those are the ones that create the jobs within the community.
Right.
So my target is to help them out as well.
You
And
got it.
geographically, the location is really good. Like people don't realize how close Fifth Ward is to downtown. I mean, geographically, it's really a good area to live in. And this is just from my own experience. My family still has a home in Fifth Ward. We literally live one street
Oh,
over from Wheatley High
sorry,
School.
y'all.
So just the location. I mean, it took me probably about 5 minutes, from where we used to live to get downtown. So if someone is wanting to have still, easy access to downtown, but not actually live downtown, that's a good area geographically to, you know, purchase a condo, an apartment, or, even just live in that area because of the proximity to downtown.
Right. And then right across the freeway from my site is a $2.4 billion development that's coming in. Apartment complexes, office buildings, restaurants, even a public golf course. It's like it's all coming to the neighborhood. And it's a great opportunity for us to get in early.
Mm-hmm.
And what you'll see in Fifth Ward right now is a whole lot of black builders, it's a whole lot of black buyers. And I think it's one of the neighborhoods where we have a pretty solid control over the redevelopment. So it doesn't come across as the negative connotation of gentrification that you usually see throughout the city. But yeah, like you said, from my apartment complex, you can get on the ramp and be at the Astro Stadium, be downtown in 90 seconds, literally. Literally, you can park on the
Yes.
Astro Stadium.
So
Yeah.
you're talking from the Houston perspective. So Houston is booming. So
Hmm.
so you talking to someone that may be from a smaller city, that may not be so aggressive, as far as like the market's not moving as fast as Houston is moving.
Hmm.
Um, those same signs are still going to be there. The
Right.
redevelopment plan is still going to be there. So
Hmm.
I just wanted to give hope to people out there that, oh well, I'm not in Houston, so it may not work for me. That's not true. There's signs
Right.
everywhere. I see it locally. There's signs that redevelopment is actually occurring.
Hmm.
The landscape is going to be changing, and you want to be a part of it. So the seller financing piece, I think, is huge. I think people don't use that as much as they should. It's always been out there for people that may not have the cash up front to purchase it outright. But get their foot in the door and then to show their worth before they go to a bank. But it doesn't even sound like you use a bank often. It doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, so I'm starting to use banks more now that they kind of see what I'm doing. It just allows me to have more scalability to do things faster sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I always start off locally, and even like you said just now, yeah, there's a ton of opportunities for, and we talk about redlining and we talk about a lot of things that happen in our communities, but
Yeah.
we forget like redlining only started in the 50s. Before the 50s,
Right.
our grandparents, our great grandparents built their houses cash. They owned all that stuff cash. And a lot of houses that we're losing now, where the owners are 90s and the kids can't afford to take them over, or the kids don't pay the taxes on them. That was before redlining even existed. So we really don't have no excuse for that. We should be pooling our money as a family, taking care of grandma's house. We should be going to those sellers that have that pride that they built that house cash in the 40s and 50s, and they don't want to sell it, and they're going to end up losing it when they die. But you walk into somebody that looks like them, and they feel good about it, they'll sell it to you. And if you don't have the money, you just put yourself in a network where you find other people that do have money that also have that vision. You got
Mm-hmm.
people that have time but don't have money. You got people that got money but don't have time.
Right.
Put those two
You have a
together,
fan.
and
That's
then,
all I'm
like I
gonna
said,
say.
go out and find the people with the resources. Bring the experienced realtor to the table.
Yeah.
Have that realtor bring the experienced contractor to the table. Then, when you go to the bank to ask for the money, or you just go to the investors and ask for the money, it's not just you with an idea. It's you with a team that's impressive, where it's easy for somebody to want to put money in on a project, but you have to be fair in what everybody's reward is going to be out of it. You can't try to keep it all, because 100% of nothing is nothing. 40% of something that you wouldn't have at all is a whole lot better. You know, so you just have to have what I call a pragmatic approach to it.
Right. Right. And yeah, I
I
am
just
seeing
want to
that.
take a quick, let me just give a quick shout out to Carmelita Turner. She is watching the show right now and
She's a
she's
Chris fan.
listening very intently and she's been commenting. So I just want to say, hey, Carmelita, we see you, we hear you. We're not commenting right now, but we do see you making comments. So thank you for tuning in. Shout out to you. And if anyone else is out there watching, make sure you're asking questions. If you want to put your questions in the comments section, please, the time is now. Before we have to let Chris go. Make sure you get your questions and your comments in.
Yeah. So, Chris, one of the questions I would have if I was a listener, you're talking about the seller financing, okay? So,
Mm-hmm.
the terms of the seller financing, what are you seeing right now in today's market, like the interest rates and the length of time that you're seeing for seller financing? What do you normally see right now, or what can they
Yeah,
expect?
it's all over the map. So usually the way it works is you want to talk a seller into making your payments something close to what a regular mortgage payment would be like on a 20 or 30-year loan,
Okay.
but they're really not going to wait that long.
Right.
So you'll hear these fancy terms like the amortization rate is this, and then but the note term is this. All that really means is the interest rate, maybe 6% and maybe 8%, which is a little bit higher than going to a bank,
Right.
but you're controlling something that you wouldn't have an opportunity to get even if you went to the bank. So you pay a little bit more for them letting you basically use their money or their asset, and paying them over time. But then the term of the note is, it could be, sometimes it's 2 years, sometimes it's 10 years. And all that means is whenever that term limit is up, that whatever y'all agree upon, you have to have that property in a position at that point to go refinance it
Right.
and go to a bank at that point. But then you should have had good documentation of, revenue, expenses, and everything. The value would have gone up. And then at that point, hopefully it's attractive enough to a bank that a bank will refinance it out. And in worst case, you just have to sell it at that point if you can, or find another investor that'll buy it on your behalf and then sell or finance it back to you again. So
And you look to buy the block because then you can actually control the market more so than you could if you went in there and bought just one property, which
yeah,
is strategic too in itself. So,
yeah, and that was another level of pushback I would get from even like what they call hard money lenders, which are people that understand real estate investing very well. They charge you 10, 12% interest for a very
yeah,
short term loan to do renovations. But even in those uh, scenarios, sometimes if I had one or two parcels and there's a lot of vacant land or a lot of raggedy property around it, they would say either they're uncomfortable or the unknown of what could happen to those other properties makes it too high of a risk. Well, when you control all the property, that takes a lot of that risk away. So that's why it's important to try to control as much of it as you can at once.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And this is my last question, Stephanie. I could have him here all day. So my last question is: when you go before the city for approval, how much pushback did you have with that? Like, what can we expect as far as presenting it to the city so they're on board with it, so you can move as quickly as you need to, or in the way that you choose to?
I was blessed to say I didn't really have that challenge, but I
Okay.
can tell you from being a network of other investors, other cities, it can be very challenging, especially if the zoning in that area is for something different. And you're trying to request to get a property rezoned. Sometimes it's straight by the book through the city decision makers. Sometimes it's political, where you have to go to the alderman or the city councilman or woman and get them to approve your plans. So those things can be a challenge. And those are always the types of things you want to research before you get in.
Yeah.
And so don't lean on your own understanding. I'm actually coming out with a course pretty soon about new construction. And my case is, or what I explain to people is, in order to be successful, you have to have your team already built. So
Yeah.
you need to have, especially if you're a buyer, speaking since y'all are on the real estate agent side, you need somebody that's experienced and understands what you're doing, that can negotiate on your behalf and do research for you. And as a buyer, you technically don't even pay the agent. It comes off of the seller side of the transaction. So
Right.
you definitely want to have that relationship. And then you want to have a contractor. And then ideally, you want to also have an architect that that contractor or their realtors used to working with already, so
Mm-hmm.
that they can help. Architects have to know the zoning because that's how they design what they design. So you can get all that feedback from that team, and they can tell you, okay, this is a good area, or it's going to be too much of a hurdle. It's going to, if you choose to still move forward, just understand your risk and what you're doing. But those are all very important key factors in determining, what's possible in that area and how much headache you're going to deal with in the process.
Well, this is all really good stuff. So, for those of you that don't know, Chris is verified on Instagram. So, he is no joke. That means that he has a lot of publications out there, and he's well versed in what he does. So, how can someone be a part of your course? I heard you say you're going to be having a course that's going to be rolling out, or a book that's rolling out. So, how can someone get in
Yeah,
contact with you
yeah,
and
it's going to
use
be
you
a
as a
course.
mentor, virtual
The
or
course is,
otherwise?
so the easiest way to get to it is the website is noflips.com, because we flip too many houses in our community and give them away. The focus needs to be more on revitalizing and rebuilding. So if you're interested in that side of it, that's what this course is going to be about. So it teaches you how to go from finding the property to building the team to hiring the contractor. You don't have to have experience to do this. And people buy new construction homes all the time when it's just a lot, and they get there. So, but people don't realize you can correlate that same thing to an investment property. So just show how to do that.
And what is the website again, Chris? And Erica's going to put it in the comments, and that way, if someone
Okay.
wants to take a look at that no flip
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, noflips.com. Noflips.com.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, man, but that's just one component of what we do. Well, also what I like about doing new construction is, especially if it's a neighborhood that's revitalizing, we put our own people in our own communities in the position to have home ownership, especially in a gentrifying neighborhood. I know it may seem a little bit uncomfortable sometimes when you get in early, but that's when you make the most money.
Yeah.
And don't think about it from just a pure money perspective. Think about
Right.
it from the fact that they say our communities, the average household net worth will go to zero by 2055.
Mm-hmm.
Well, imagine just owning your house in the right neighborhood. It's one of our neighborhoods anyway. Why not own it now? And when that house goes from 180 to worth 500,000, where we usually can't afford it, now you're one of the owners. What does that do for you when your kids turn 18? Do you have to send them to school on student loan debt? No. Maybe you sell the house and downsize. Uh, does that help our average household net worth in our communities? It definitely does. It triples
Yeah.
or quadruples what your net worth is without you having to really be an investor. All that's possible by somebody else having the decision to build new construction in a neighborhood that was somewhat attractive for you to move into. So we need more people that want to do that new construction part of the process.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just saying, like back in the 80s, I do remember that in New York they were giving away brownstones for $1. Some of them just for
Mm-hmm.
nothing, and now they're worth millions of dollars.
Yep.
So I wish I had the insight to say, yeah, I'm just gonna buy this for $1. I mean, I was young
Mm-hmm.
then, but still, just the fact to have it Even the shell would
Yes.
probably be worth millions. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
just
Yep.
so like you said, yeah, don't look at what it's looking like now. Just think about future. This is a long term hold. This is a long term
Hmm.
game. So
Erica, in the
absolutely.
80s, you were just a baby.
I was, but I remember that. I remember that. Yes, I do. I remember
I
that.
was too.
Yes, I do. I remember that. I was like, $1? Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Well, Chris, besides Houston, are you going to be doing any other projects in any other cities and states?
Yeah, I definitely will. I just wanted to stay close to home where I had a very good understanding of the market. So basically,
Harrisburg, Harrisburg, PA.
I love it. Yeah, I just wanted to be able to prove the case studies, close to home, and dispel all the myths about what is impossible to do. And now that I've done that, I feel more comfortable going to other markets, partnering with other people. It's not something that I can do all on my own, but just going to different areas, finding the right teams, and kind of letting them take the mile and run with it, and kind of partnering with people. I think it's very practical, it's very possible, and I always tell people this: you really got to think about it like this. In reality, we talk about the challenges we have now, but every community you go to, you call the hood, all those abandoned businesses used to be thriving businesses. And the
Right.
people that started those businesses or their parents could touch an actual slave,
Yeah.
or talk to an actual slave. So the economic climate, the racial tension climate, everything was a lot worse back then. And we had more black banks, we had more black neighborhoods, we had more black businesses, more black developers. So we really, really, really don't have a strong excuse right now, except we're spending too much time trying to convince other people to make up for what their their parents and their grandparents messed up on, instead of us focusing on just doing a lot more ourselves. So
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's always
Right.
easy
So
to look at
basically,
why.
what you're saying
Go
is
ahead.
stop making excuses and get out there and do something about it.
There you go. And it's
yeah,
always
we
easy
got
to know.
how I summarize it is we have enough historians and debaters. We need more problem solvers.
Amen to that. Amen to that. That is awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Chris, for spending your precious time with us. This was awesome. I mean, like I said, I could ask you questions all day long. So I do appreciate your time. We do have the website for Carmelita. I'll just put hers up there because we had it up there too. But noflips.com. So if
Yep,
you're
there you
interested in
go.
getting information from Chris and learning how he does his business in Houston, that's where you want to go. So yeah, thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it. Stephanie.
Yes, thank you, Chris, for joining us. And I have one more question for you. Do you have any more opportunities for maybe like someone that wants to be involved in the crowdfunding piece? Do you have any more of those opportunities coming up in the near future?
I probably I don't have one exactly today. But if you are interested in that, I do have a website for that too. Um,
What is that?
so so the catchphrase is buy the block.
Yep.
So take the initials BTB and then the word waitlist.com, btbwaitlist.com, and there's a form you can fill out, and you'll be on the top of the distribution list for anything else that comes up.
I think I got it.
Yeah, btbwaitlist.com.
Got it. Okay. That's if you would like to be on the waiting list to be a
Mm-hmm.
part of the crowdfunding opportunities. So the $250 investor, you said that you did some distributions. Didn't you say that?
Mm-hmm. You're right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So were they excited when they got their check, their portion?
A lot of people were. A lot of people were.
Yes.
Yeah.
$250, y'all. That's all they invested, and they never
Yeah.
had any part of ownership before. Chris, that's
Right.
amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And their share value has gone up about 10%. No, I'm sorry, the share value went up about 5%, and they've got 8% distribution. So it's all overall a 13% return in the first year.
That's awesome.
That is really awesome. And of course, guys, if you're listening, there are opportunities for you to be an investor without actually having to put in a ton of money. The small amount of $250, which is like Chris said, is something that you probably weren't going to use on anything, or you're just throwing it away. We go to restaurants and spend, $100 to $150 just in one sitting. So, guys, please invest wisely. So if you're having these small amounts of money and you're thinking about investing, look for these opportunities. There are opportunities all around you. And so if you're in Houston, Texas, get on that BTB wait list. That is by the block, okay? the Buy the Block wait list. Get on that wait list because you too can become an investor without having to put up all of your funds. So don't let these opportunities pass you by. These are wealth building opportunities. These are investment opportunities. These are opportunities for you to give back to your community. So, guys, please pay attention to that. Please join in these movements of buying the block. Join in the movement of, just bringing the culture back to your community. So when we talk about areas like Fifth Ward, it has such a negative, stigma to it because that is what happens when we drive out all of the culture. That's what happens when we drive away all of the Black businesses. So we're trying to bring that back. So people like Chris Senegal and others, builders, are out there trying to bring the culture back to our community so that you won't have to say, okay, the man put us out, or something like that. So you have to be the change that you want to see. So thank you again, Christopher Senegal, for joining our show. We welcome you from Housed in the Car. We thank you. And Erica, did you want to add anything?
No, you did a great job. What do we got next week?
Next week is our last and final show for this series. So we are closing it out and we're going to enjoy our holiday season after that. But we'll be coming back with more information for you guys for 2022. But next week we're going, and maybe I need to say it a little low because Chris is saying no flips. But next week we're talking about flipping for the bag.
Oh no, it's fine. You just gotta be responsible with where you do it and how you do it.
No, that is real.
Yeah.
That is real. Yeah. So happy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, everyone. That's gonna be celebrating. I'm really grateful for this being on this platform. Just being great. I'm just very grateful for it. So thank you.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Happy holidays to you guys. Don't eat too much food on Thursday, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday.